The Knicks losing to the Magic was probably the worst loss of the season. Given the level of talent that the Magic had available, all the players they were missing, they had no business being in this game against the Knicks, let alone winning this game. There were a number of factors why the Magic won that game. The level of defense the Knicks were playing, how many open shots the Magic were able to get, and the Knicks bench scoring was, again, extremely poor. And after the game, Tom Thibodeau called out the Knicks for their low-energy performance against the Magic. We're going to break down all of these latest reports today. But before we get started, guys, about 55% of you watching this video right now are not subscribed to the channel. We are on a mission to try to reach 25,000 subscribers, and we could really use your support. If you enjoy daily Knicks content like this, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button because it could really support all the great content that we're creating for you. And now, let's get started. The Knicks get called out by head coach Tom Thibodeau, and they deserve to be called out. What we witnessed last night between the Knicks and the Magic was absolutely atrocious. I can't believe I even watched that entire game. The Orlando Magic were missing a number of key players. We were essentially playing against their backup unit, and New York could not get any stops against them. We allowed them to shoot open shots inside the paint, open three-point shots for them all night long. And even though they're one of the worst shooting teams in the entire league, even they can make open threes when they're left open. And that's exactly what happened against the Magic. We also did not play defense until it was way too late, until the game was already out of reach. And at that point in time, it didn't matter what we did. The Magic had no players on their bench, on their roster, that should have been able to take care of the Knicks and win that game last night. New York gave this game to the Magic because they couldn't get any stops. And even though they rallied back late and tried to get back into the game in that third quarter, and even in that fourth quarter, they just could not get enough stops consistently to put a run together. And because of that, the Magic beat down the Knicks. They took this game, and now the Knicks are on their first three-game losing streak of the season. And after the game, head coach Tom Thibodeau called out the Knicks for their low-energy performance. Let's see exactly what he had to say about the squad. Shout out to New York Basketball on the app X for giving us the following information. According to head coach Tom Thibodeau, I don't want to say we lacked effort. Guys were trying. We were playing with low energy. We couldn't get anything going. We have to get our energy back. Big part of this league. We got to make it go our way. Sometimes you just got to dig down and find a way to win the game. Josh Hart also spoke about the Knicks' poor shooting from deep as of late, and he said the following: it's an NBA season. There's going to be peaks and valleys. We've got to make sure we are focused and give off the right energy. We can't have our own individual agendas. Got to make sure we're locked in on this team. This doesn't happen too often, but I actually agree with Tom Thibodeau. I don't want to say it was a lack of effort, because if you watch that game from start to finish, even though they should have never let that Magic team get into the game and even make it a game, the fact of the matter is, when it came down to it, the Knicks were actually playing defense. Their first effort on defense was actually very good, but their second effort, third effort on defense was never great. You could see it inside the paint. When the Magic were trapped, they were passing the ball out, and it only took one or two passes to make the Knicks get discombobulated, not understand what the Magic were going to do, and the Magic were able to get open looks and convert on those open looks. And I'm not saying the Knicks had a lot of turnovers this game, but when we did turn the ball over, it was extremely costly, and it allowed the Magic to get even easier buckets on us. And now I'm hearing Tom Thibodeau speak about this team having low energy out there, low energy performance. Now, while I agree to some extent, while that is on the team, I'm also putting some of the blame on head coach Tom Thibodeau, because was low energy the only reason why the Knicks were not playing up to par against the Magic, a lowly Magic team missing half of their roster, many key players, or was there another reason why the Knicks did not show up last night against the Magic? Well, according to Ian Bagley and Tom Thibodeau, there's another reason why the Knicks did not look good last night against the Magic, and it's due to player fatigue. Shout out to Ian Bagley for giving us the following information. According to him, Tom Thibodeau called the Knicks' performance against Orlando low energy. When asked if player fatigue factored in, Thibodeau said, probably a compilation of a lot of things. We're coming off a long road trip, but that's the challenge of the league. Be ready every night. We're shorthanded. When you're shorthanded, you gotta play hard. Your margin for error is tight. And according to Bagley, he continues here by providing this following stat. And this stat also lets you know it's not only low energy, it's not only player fatigue, it's also head coach Tom Thibodeau playing his players way too many minutes. According to Bagley, last season, Jalen Brunson led New York in minutes per game at 35.4. He ranked 14 in the NBA in minutes per game. Through 37 games this season, New York has 3 players ranked within the NBA's top 7 in minutes played per game. 4 players within the NBA's top 6 in distance traveled, and 4 players within the NBA's top 7 in total minutes. We can talk about low energy. We can talk about the lack of defensive stops. We can talk about back-to-backs, being on the road. We can talk about all of that. But the point is, when you're watching this Knicks team, when you look at the numbers, the minutes being played, the numbers that we just covered from Ian Bagley, all those stats, yes, low energy is a problem. Yes, consistent defensive stops are a problem. But also, the way the starters' minutes are being abused right now by Tom Thibodeau, that's a problem. The way we're not including the bench and giving them more time, giving them significant time so the starters can rest more, that's a problem. And who do we have to blame for that? Who do we look at to put blame on? It has to be head coach Tom Thibodeau, because there is no one else that controls the roster, the starters, the players, and how many minutes they play each and every game. It's up to Thibs. And after last night's loss against the Magic, the quote-unquote low energy that he's calling out the Knicks for, well, what about calling out the head coach? What about talking about the minutes played per game? How many starters are playing significant minutes just to keep us in games? We're not blowing out teams. We're doing our best, fighting and clawing, trying to keep ourselves in games. Don't you think, if that's the case, that maybe our starters can benefit from more rest and giving some of those minutes to the bench? Because if you do that, you'll develop your bench, which is going to help you later on in the future and definitely in the postseason, but it's also going to help your starters get more rest, be fresh later in games. The great Mike Breen, for the second time in a row, has stated openly and publicly that the Knicks look exhausted. They look tired. If he's saying it and he's noticing it, if I'm noticing it, if basically the entire New York Knicks fan base is noticing it, why hasn't Tom Thibodeau done anything yet? Why has there not been a change made in terms of the minutes management and how many minutes are allocated to the bench and the starters? Currently, and it's remained this way for weeks now, New York has one of the worst benches in terms of scoring this year. And it's not because we have a bad bench. It's because our coach refuses to play the bench significant minutes. Now, I'm not saying that sometimes it's not on the bench for not being aggressive enough and not going out there and trying to stabilize the offense so we don't have to put out there 2 or 3 starters early on because we can't get enough offense going. We need to address the bench issues right away. The ways to do that is to add more talent on the bench that Tom Thibodeau trusts and will actually utilize from a night-to-night basis. We cannot continue to run the starters into the ground and think that they can control all of the scoring load and the bench doesn't have to do a lot and we're still going to be considered a championship contender. All of the great teams, the top teams in the league right now, have a great starting unit and have a great bench, have good depth. New York has good depth. We just don't utilize our depth. And that's on us. If we're not doing something that we should be doing, we can't point the fingers at everybody else. We have to look at ourselves internally. You want to call out the players for low energy? Cool. I'm with you on that. But let's also call out the head coach about how many minutes are being played, the lack of adjustments, and how many times we saw the Magic open from 3. How many times the Magic penetrated and when they were trapped, created by passing the ball a few times and getting another player an open look and converting on that shot without any adjustments being made. Can we talk about that as well too? Because I think that's something else we have to call out. We need to make adjustments on every level, the player level, the bench level, and the coaching level. We need to make sure that's what we're doing moving forward, because if we don't, this won't be a 3-game losing streak we're talking about. It will get a lot longer, especially with the level of talent that we're about to go up against. New York needs to clean this up, and they need to do something about this type of play right away. We cannot continue into this new year dropping games and dropping them in the fashion that we have been, not playing good enough defense, allowing so many open shots, allowing penetration and creation without any resistance. This is not the Knicks team that won 9 straight. If we want to go back on a win streak, we got to get back to playing New York level basketball. And over the last few games, we have not been doing that. But what about you guys? What do you think about Tom Thibodeau calling out the team and stating that the reason they lost against the Magic was because they were playing with low energy? Let me know how you feel about that in the comment section below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below. And of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans, take care of yourself, your families, and each other. Peace and love.